So did you hear about President Trump's display of presidential history? Yeah, as part of his ongoing effort to make what's left of the White House resemble a tacky Gilded Age whorehouse, Trump created what he calls the Presidential Walk of Fame, featuring portraits of every U.S. president in gaudy gold frames. But this week, Trump added plaques underneath the portraits containing text that, because Trump is a pathetic, insecure narcissist, is filled with false and disparaging statements about previous presidents. I'll show some examples in a minute, but first I need to point out that it's very clear from the childish tone, grammatical errors, random capitalizations, and fifth-grade vocabulary that Trump wrote these descriptions. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed this, saying, quote, "As a student of history, many were written directly by the president himself." Shall we take a look at what the student of history wrote? For Joe Biden, Trump wrote that, quote, "Sleepy Joe Biden was by far the worst president in American history. That he took office, quote, as a result of the most corrupt election ever seen. And that, quote, Biden oversaw a series of unprecedented disasters that brought our nation to the brink of destruction." Guess who saved us? Trump also replaced Biden's photograph with an image of an auto pen, confirming that this nation is being run by a child. For Obama, Trump describes him as, quote, "one of the most divisive political figures in American history." Also that Obama, quote, "presided over a stagnant economy, approved the terrible Iran nuclear deal, and signed the one-sided Paris Climate Accords, both of which were later terminated by President Donald J. Trump." Shocker, Trump's name appears multiple times in most of the plaques about other presidents, including 3 times in the plaque for Ronald Reagan. That text is full of praise for the conservative icon, but also that Reagan, quote, "was a fan of Donald J. Trump before President Trump's historic run for the White House. Likewise, President Trump was a fan of his." In other words, these are Trump's tweets cast in bronze, and I've only shown you a fraction of the absurd things he wrote. Let's take a moment to consider how far we've fallen as a nation. President Truman created the Presidential Medal of Freedom. President Johnson created the Presidential Scholars Program. President Dwight D. Eisenhower created the Presidential Retreat at Camp David. President Richard Nixon created the Presidential Citizens Medal, while Trump has just created a fucking embarrassing presidential gallery of grievances. Can't you just hear the world laughing? But stay tuned for more. He's got 1,127 days left in office.